that why you were here?
This is it. Don't get scared.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a brand new Flick Pick live show. This is it. Don't get scared, and thanks for joining me once again. And to be honest with you, I was just feeling a little bit lonely tonight, and I missed you. It's you beautiful bastards who fill that void in my heart, and I thank you for that. So, how's everybody doing? I hope you have some buttery good popcorn, a delicious beverage, 3 ice cubes. I'm feeling forgiving tonight, maybe 5 to 6. And thanks for joining me so we can talk about movies, hang out, and whatever happens, it happens, and it stays right here, just between us and an eternity on the internet. But no one's ever going to judge you, I promise you. Okay, let's dive into the questions. Can you hear me? Is the audio okay? Does it sound too loud? I can turn it down just a smidgen. How's that sound? Okay. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll just dive into the questions. It's an Ask Me Anything, and hopefully we can just cover anything and everything. I'm feeling frisky. I hope you are too. Okay, Scott Sullivan. Flick Pick is back in town. Yes, I am. Roll down the windows and just smell that air. It's a little bit musty, but it's got a delicious aftertone. All right, let's just go into it here. I don't know if doing this tonight was a really good idea or possibly a really bad idea. But like I said, I was just feeling feisty. Okay. The 50% Doctor Who podcast says, have you seen The Holdovers? I have seen it. I believe we've talked about that a few times on the live stream. Quite enjoyed it. Nice throwback. It felt like a early 1980s movie. And just not only the time period that the film takes place in, but just the quality and the tone and the way that they shot it was so simplistic, but it felt like a nice throwback. I wish we got a handful of those types of movies every year. I really do. But I loved the movie. I don't know if I'd rewatch it over and over, but I quite enjoyed the experience. Yeah, those are the kinds of movies I like, you know? It makes you feel something inside. Also, you said, watched it 2 nights ago, loved it. It's sort of a Christmas movie without being a Christmas movie. Yes, indeed. I would agree. And have you ever seen the film Dutch, starring Ed O'Neill? Not quite to the quality of something like Holdovers, but has that same simplicity to it, except it goes much more extreme and over the top. And plus the kid in Dutch, what a little asshole. And I love when they shoot each other with BB guns. That's a true father-son relationship. Okay. What's the next question here? Sorry, it's been a while. I forgot how complicated doing a live show really is. There's a lot of steps involved, a lot of timing. It's kind of stressful. And then you got to make a new thumbnail. I was like, Jesus. Okay. Anyway. Mark Hickory says, John, let me in and it can be nice. Make me go now and I'll have to come back. Not once, not twice, but as many times as I like. Well, that's the most terrifying, creepy, I'm going to lock my doors now and sit in my closet with a BB gun with a mattress in front of me kind of comment you could have left. And I quite enjoyed that. But I will be calling the police after this live stream because I'm afraid for my life. But thank you. Yes. All right. Next question. How many people do you think Mark Henry has in the well of his basement? At least 2. All right. Thank you, Mark, for the question. The next one comes from James Doshier, who says, hey, John, how's it going? It's my birthday in 2 days. Well, happy early birthday to you, James. Enjoy that shit. All right. Chris Wilson says, early reviews for Borderlands are out. Some are saying it might be the worst movie of the last decade. Any thoughts? Oh, I can only imagine. I've seen 2 things about that movie. I love movies. I seek out information about movies, but I've only come across 2 things dealing with that film, and both of them were bad. And one of them, I believe, I can't remember where I read this. It could be gossip or it could be true, but I'm going to lean towards the side that this is slightly true. I feel like I read this somewhere. that the director of the film, who's credited, was actually only there about 1/5 the time that they were filming the movie. Basically, he showed up for a few scenes, and as second unit director did the rest of the movie. So that's always a bad sign. Also, I've heard from people who've played the game, and I only played the game maybe I think I played the first one for maybe a day or two. That they're saying this is like some of the worst casting they possibly could have done. And whenever you see, isn't Chris Tucker or who's in the movie? Chris Hart. Yes. Chris Hart's in the movie. And that instantly just takes me right out of it. Like, what were they thinking? It's great. I will see it maybe after taking hallucinogenics. I will go see it, and I think that would be a pure experience. And maybe this weekend, if I'm bored enough, I will see it. But I'll tell you what, I am definitely going to see this weekend. Me and some pals are going to go see Deadpool and Wolverine. I've already seen the film. I attended a press screening in IMAX, and there's only 12 people in that screening, and that was worth a 3-hour drive there and back to see that. And I did put out a live. We talked about it in the last live stream. Sorry, it's been a long day. And I put out a review and a spoiler review on the Flickpick channel. So if you haven't seen those, go check them out if you want to. I talked all about the movie. I quite enjoyed it, and I want to see it again. So this will be my second viewing. And, watching that film and reading the comments on some of the reviews, it's fucking utterly insane how divisive a comic book movie can be these days, isn't it? It's almost terrifying. It's like everyone either loves the movie, and it's like the second coming of Jesus Christ. If Jesus Christ had adamantium claws, it was like that. Or it was like, I hated it. It was an underwhelming, junky comic book movie. Those were the only two opinions I noticed that people leave in the comment section. There's no nuance anymore. I find it really fascinating. That's just one observation I had. But anyway, those reviews are up on the main channel, the Flickpick, and I believe those were my first reviews, solo reviews on that channel in about a year, which is kind of weird and scary for a multitude of reasons. It didn't feel like a year. It felt like 7 minutes in between those videos. And I forgot just how alive making a YouTube video makes you feel inside. I was like, oh, this is what youth feels like. It's reinvigorating to scream about a movie into a camera in a parking lot at 12 o'clock at night. It was kind of cool. So every once in a while, I like to get those little injections of adrenaline right into the old bum ticker here. It just wakes you up. Okay, I'll get to the questions here. I'm rambling. Here it goes. Here we go. Chris Wilson says earlier. Oh, we already answered that. Carter Lovejoy says thoughts on Michael Bay making the Sky Beatty toilet movie. Maybe I'm been out of the loop. What's Michael Bay making involving a toilet? It's the right location because half of his movies are shit, and that's coming from a guy who loves me some Michael Bay movies. But it's ever since he got involved with Transformers, Michael Bay really went downhill. I miss the days of The Rock Michael Bay. Or the first Bad Boys Michael Bay. I even quite enjoy Armageddon. I remember seeing that in theaters as a young boy, all by myself because I had no friends. My mom dropped me off. Funny story, I was stupid and I couldn't read the numbers on the marquee, so I went into the wrong theater. And it was an hour after the original showing I was supposed to go to. And my mother thought I was kidnapped, and everyone in the theater was looking for me. And then they found me right at the climax of the movie. And the manager comes up and says, "Hey, is your name John?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Your mom's waiting outside for you." So long story short, they thought I was abducted, and I never got to see Bruce Willis sacrifice himself in the ending of that film until I watched it on VHS like 6 months later. Could you imagine that? You're just a young boy, and you want to know if Bruce Willis or Ben Affleck died on that asteroid. And hell, I don't even know if the Earth was saved. Did it get hit by the asteroid? Did it blow up? Did it explode? I don't know, because I had to leave immediately before seeing the end of the film. And it's my own stupidity. I will blame myself, but geez, I had to wait 6 months to figure that out. I forgot how much that hurt inside as a young man. I forgot the question. What was it? Oh yeah, I didn't know about the Michael Bay thing. Horror by Jordy says, have you seen the documentary How to Rob a Bank? No, I have not. I believe someone has mentioned that before. It does sound like my kind of documentary. But the most recent documentary I was watching was on Netflix about, what was it, Bad Pop or something like that? About the skeezy manager who ripped off the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. And the thing about this documentary, I swear, this corrupt sleazebag manager that these guys had, he just came across like a realistic version of the Penguin that you'd see in society from like the Batman. Like the sleaziest, big-bellied, creepy, fucking double-chinned sleazebag with like a greasy face that you could imagine with a slick-back hairdo. And you just know this guy's going to steal your money. But that's who this is exactly that stereotype, but in real life. And it just baffles me every time he's talking or around people, and he's always around younger boys, which says a lot. But even so, it's just like, how could you look at this guy and trust him? Like, someone in the show makes the reference of selling your soul to the devil. And it's like, yeah, that guy literally looks like the embodiment of the devil. I mean, how could you trust him? So, I don't know. Maybe I just read people too much. But geez, if you've seen this documentary, that guy terrifies me. He looks like he was like created in a lab to look sleazy. It's baffling to me. But that's the last documentary I watched. Caleb. That's how the name was typed. John, we miss you every single time you're gone. Keep up the good work outside of YouTube, but never forget about us. Been watching you for 10 years now. Oh, thanks for that, buddy. I don't forget about you guys. I'm not kidding. Every day I'm driving around doing my normal mundane job, looking at the sunset from a distance, and it just feels like your soul's dying inside with every inch you go. I do think about you guys, and that's why I always come back. So just know you're getting the best version of me you can possibly get. Real quick, I want to interject with a couple things. Most importantly, I'm feeling good tonight, you know? Whenever I put on a graphic tee, you guys know it's time for a YouTube live stream. And then I reserve these I don't wear these normal life anymore. It's just, I don't know. It's like I have to save it for here in the safety of the Flick Cave. So anyway, but the point I was getting to was I really didn't have a point. Let's just go to the next question. Here it goes. But I didn't forget about you guys. I did miss you. Rob Kavanagh says, and by the way, thanks for the great super chats, guys. I do appreciate it. I can buy more graphic tees. I do want to get more. You know what the sad truth is? Not to ramble on about a topic that relates to nothing, but isn't that what you're here for? And I will get to your question, Rob. Is every time I go to Walmart, which is very few and far between these days, and it's a weird thing. It almost gives me anxiety at this point in my life, and that's when you know you're getting old. But anyway, I always look at the graphic tees, and there's just never anything good. It's the same shit. It's always like the old Batman logo, and on the graphic tees at Walmart, the logo's a little bit crooked because they just can't print one that's straight. So I always look for cool graphic tees. I'm like, I just don't want to buy these. There's nothing cool or subtle. It's all just blatantly obvious. There's no nuance to any of them. You know, I like subtle movie related graphic tees. I don't want it just to be a picture of like Captain America's face. You know, I like things like this. So that's a weird rant I wanted to go on about nothing. But anyway, let's get to the question. Hey, John, everyone always asks about Stuckman, but what about Crazy Jason? What happened to him? I think he's just living his life in South Carolina. I've reached out a couple times, no response, but that's me and Jason would be best buddies, and then he would disappear for like, not kidding you, a year. And then we just start talking again like no time was lost. He was a great guy. I don't know. I wish I could get in touch with him more than I could, but I think he's just become a recluse, and that's as much as I know. I hope he's just enjoying watching his plasma screen TV and watching the Blu-ray of Troy over and over again in the comfort of his home. I hope he's doing well. But if he's watching, give me a call, man. Okay, then the other question was, I think that was... Yeah, I think I covered that one. Oh, and also, I'm from Evansville, Indiana. You ever been down in that part of Indiana? Evansville? Yeah, I think I passed through there a time or two. But really, I don't go far anymore. I just stay in my own little bubble. I feel safe. But no, it's probably been a while. The 50% Doctor Who podcast says, are you a Seinfeld fan? I do like me some Seinfeld. That dry wit humor. It's definitely it's best served at 10:30 or late night for me. It's the kind of simplicity I enjoy that's just comfort food when you go to bed. That's when I watch Seinfeld. It like whisks me away. John, what's the matter? You don't want to sleep, or do you want some peanuts? And then I just fall asleep like a beautiful baby. So yes, I do like occasional Seinfeld. Upshot Music TV says, better Hans Zimmer score, Prince of Egypt or Spirit. Also, I'm high as shit, and right now I'm making music. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm talking about movies on YouTube, and it feels good to be alive. Ooh, I might go with, I think I prefer Spirit. I really do. And then Spirit has some Bryan Adams, I think, mixed in there. I think I love that score. I think I prefer that score a bit more. And rewatchability as a movie. But Prince of Egypt, that's epic too. But yeah, I prefer when a horse is voiced by Matt Damon. So, Andres Gomez, hey John, overdue question, but thoughts on Wonder WM40. Oh, WrestleMania 40. I've talked about that before in the live show. I quite enjoyed it. That was my kind of show. The end with Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, that was pure cinema. Beautiful. But I'll tell you what I almost liked more was this new SummerSlam I just watched. And plus, real quick, not to sound like a WWE nerd, even though if I wasn't talking about movies, I would probably do a wrestling YouTube channel. I think I would. I love it as much as cinema because it's kind of interwoven, except one has more baby oil. But yeah, the new SummerSlam was pretty awesome. And I love the production quality of WWE now. It just feels like it's in your living room. It's almost like they're using a wide angle lens at all times. I love it. So, yeah. The next one comes from Matt Logan. Spider-Man 2 is the best superhero movie of all time. It's damn good. But I'll tell you what I don't like about Spider-Man 2. Maybe this is an unpopular opinion. I don't like Doc Ock in that movie. I find him really, really boring. The actor who played him, is it Molina, I believe, something? I think he's a great actor. Something about it didn't give it energy to me. That's an unpopular opinion for me. I just didn't like Doc Ock in the second movie. I found it really boring. I'd much rather watch the Itsy Bitsy Spider. In the first film, even though he was corny as shit and had a Power Rangers suit, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, that charisma oozed. So yeah, I that's why for just that reason alone, I would prefer the first Spider-Man over the second. Maybe that's unpopular. I don't know. But best comic book movie, not for me. I don't want to be cliche. The obvious answer you'd probably get for me is like The Dark Knight, right? From the Marvel side of things, I actually think Endgame would be that movie. I know most prefer Infinity War, and I understand. But yeah, so I would debate that opinion. But if you like it, that's fair, man. Okay, the next one comes from Miska Mercady says, John, I'm 22, so I'm high right now. I'm glad all my viewers and listeners are addicted to drugs. That is phenomenal. Thank you. That's great. Well, isn't that beautiful? I think it's great. Okay. I need to get a sponsorship or something. What? Hang on. Here we go. Okay. Give me some general advice you'd tell your 20-year-old self with the perspective you have now. Oh gosh, that's a scary question. I would say I guess invest and don't be a lazy sack of shit. Yes, and make sure never to skip leg day. But yeah, there's not a lot I would change, other than just I wish I would have invested more into like a mutual fund or maybe the S&P 500, or had I bought some Bitcoin 15 years ago. Oh my God, that would have been great advice to give yourself. But outside of all of that, I'm glad I did what I did. A lot of accidental good things happened. So no real big complaints, and that's fair. But God, that Bitcoin money, that would have hit hard. Just okay. Sorry. The next one comes from Carter Lovejoy. My birthday's in a few days. I'm turning 24 and I plan on getting a PS5. Any good suggestions? Couldn't tell you, man. I really don't play console games anymore. The only thing I play is Rocket League, and that's for about 12 minutes a day until I get so pissed off, I throw my controller like a giant man child and I go, what am I doing with my life? And then I instantly go right back to it 2 minutes later. And you need something like that in life that boils your blood. But so that's all I play nowadays is Rocket League, and I love it. So outside of that, couldn't tell you. I like to play some old retro games occasionally. I know that doesn't relate to your question because you have a PS5, but I love playing like my classic SNES occasionally. Just something about side-scrolling games. It hits you in the feels. Oh, one thing I did want to talk about real quick, and it's because it's in the thumbnail, was I wanted to talk about a new movie I've seen recently, and I was quite looking forward to this. It was the new M. Night Shyamalan flick, Trapped, starring Josh Hartnett, who has only been in a few films over the last 15 to 20 years. After that LA homicide film, he sort of disappeared off the face of the planet. Though occasionally I do like to watch Pearl Harbor when it's a late, cold, rainy night and I just want to feel warm inside. Anyway, but my point was, I was looking forward to this film. I thought the trailers looked intriguing. I knew instantly, kind of watching the trailer, that Trapped was definitely not going to be the best M. Night Shyamalan movie. It didn't look like the same quality of something like Split, for example. And with M. Night Shyamalan, it's hit or miss these days. I enjoy the ride sometimes, but by the end of it, you're just puking and screaming, and it went off the tracks. That's sort of the way his movies go. And the premise to this film was instantly intriguing to me. And if you know anything about me, maybe I'm a sociopath. I'm not quite sure. But what I do quite enjoy in life is watching dark, seedy comedy films about likable sociopaths, like Nightcrawler or American Psycho. And this was sort of Patrick Bateman, but a toned-down version who's an everyday guy stuck in an arena. But the twist here is that this is all a trap to catch him, and there's a lot of guards and FBI agents at this arena, and they're going to weed him out and find him. And how does he get out of this situation? Hey, that sounds great. And that it is great. I actually quite enjoyed that part. And then 55 minutes of the movie go by, and it radically and instantly changes into something else. And I won't spoil anything beyond that. It's okay, no spoilers. But I will say the first half of this film was what I expected it to be. The second half went off the rails. It went totally bonkers, and it went so surreal that it took me out of it. But the first half was phenomenal. I wanted more of that. And I thought Josh Hartnett was doing his best kind of Patrick Bateman impression, which, hey, it felt inspired by that, at least, but with a different twist on it. And I thought he played a great sociopath, serial killer. Though I will say this, and this isn't a spoiler, it just feels like, because his character in this film is supposed to be a very intelligent serial killer who has a double life. But their plan was to have 1 billion guards outside of an arena when he's taking his daughter to this live performance with the worst music ever presented ever. I mean, it's like if Taylor Swift was on meth and crack and giving a performance. That's what the music in this sounded like. It was like this cliche girl pop music. Anyway, there's a few tunes that were slightly catchy, let's be honest. But anyway, it just feels like if that high of an intellect serial killer was walking into an arena and he saw 1 million guards outside, wouldn't that be an instant giveaway? This is maybe a trap. I would not go here. But this character just keeps going. For as smart as he's supposed to be, he's really dumb at times. And I also thought the way that the narrative and the story in this movie was told was really lazy. I won't give anything away, but there's just one character in this film that's supposed to be a specialized, I guess, manhunter. She's a psychologist who can pinpoint who a sociopath serial killer is. And it's every time that Josh Hartnett's character needs to know some insight, they're always within 10 feet of each other as she's explaining this very loudly on a phone, and he just happens to hear it down the hallway. Keep in mind, there's 5,000 people looking for him, but he's 10 foot away from her, and he fits the profile perfectly, and no one sees him. It's like he's the invisible man in the first half of this movie. I know I'm complaining, but as a B-rate rainy night type of movie that you eat with some frozen pizza, this would be the perfect at-home streaming movie. But like I said, for the first half. And then it just... Typical M. Night Shyamalan takes a great premise and says, this is beautiful. Let me hold it. Let me cherish it. Oh, premise, I love you so much. And he gives it a little kiss. And he just drops it and it shatters over the floor. And that's sort of, the way M. Night Shyamalan movies have been going these days. But I always want them to be great. And the first acts pretty much are. So anyway, but would I recommend Trapped? I might say yes. But I guess I just have a soft spot for serial killer sociopath characters in movies that are slightly likable. And there is some comedy in this. This movie is essentially a comedy. So for that, it kind of was reminiscent to American Psycho. So I would recommend it, but it's not a good movie. There it is. Okay. Those are my thoughts. So the next question comes from Haram Lavonas, who says, I walked out of the Twister premiere halfway and got kicked out of the AMC after they refused to give me a refund. Well, I mean, I'm sorry they didn't give you a refund. They should have. You deserved it. I think everyone after watching Twister deserves some money back. And I know that, can I talk about being divisive once again when it comes to movies? Let's be honest. The new Twisters is mediocrity, blockbuster, disaster movie that you watch. It's cool. And then you instantly forget because there was nothing new presented to you that you should remember, right? That's what it was, at least for me. But some people on the internet say this is like the best disaster movie they've ever seen. And then you go, well, have you seen the original? And they go, what's that? And I just go, okay, that's why. That's why cinema is allowed to slowly die. But yeah, but the thing about that's so divisive about this is people either think this was the best movie ever made, or they hate it. Once again, there's no one who says, and very few, maybe this is a slight margin, it feels like, of the viewers of movies like this. It just feels like a very slim margin of people will say, yeah, it was it was slightly entertaining, but the original is way better. It seems like that's a slim margin of people, but most people either hate movies or love them. And that's kind of the new trend. And I just think it's really entertaining. I really do. What happened? What happened with the Great Divide? I blame TikTok. So yeah, I didn't like Twisters. I really didn't. I wanted to. I just thought it felt poorly made to me. It really did. It felt like a really mediocre Netflix movie of the week at times. I just remember there was a scene. They try to make you care about the two leads, and don't get me wrong. I like Glenn Powell. I really do, and I don't think he was miscast. I just think the screenplay just made everyone feel like surface level cartoon characters. Like there was no real subtlety to them. And I just remember one scene where the girl is in her aunt's barn or something hanging out, and the barn looks like it's lit like a soap opera scene. It's like way too much hair lighting. It looks so artificial, like it's built on a set. And I remember out of nowhere, Glenn Powell's character just walks in like it was like a episode of Seinfeld with Kramer walking in. But that was supposed to be like a dramatic scene. And it was just, that to me, it just shows how poorly crafted this was. Like the tone just was missing somewhere to make it feel like a real movie to me. And the original does feel like that to me. So that's why there's such a contrast in comparison with Twisters and Twister. Don't get me wrong, I like shitty big disaster movies, but just I want to feel something. And what is that feeling? I don't know. Okay. Night King 01 says, and I will read these questions a bit quicker. And thanks to all 242 of you joining me tonight. I missed you guys. Okay. I'll talk a bit quicker. As I don't talk at all. So Zack Snyder's director's cut for Rebel Moon came out. Some people say they are just bad, and some will say it's worse. Listen, when it comes to the first Rebel Moon, I gave that a watch one night, and I was really in the mood to watch something new on streaming that I have not seen. So I was looking forward to it slightly. And within 12 minutes, I was like, oh, this is not worth watching. I was like, I'm not wasting my time watching this. I couldn't believe how bad it was. And I love me some Zack Snyder at times, but man, I don't know what that was. It felt like digital noise. Soulless digital noise. So that's all. Those are my thoughts on Rebel Moon. I will not watch the new one. On the edibles, I see John. Hey man, don't jump to conclusions. I suggest watching Interstellar on edibles. You will enjoy it more. Probably. I do enjoy. You know what I'm looking forward to? Alien Romulus. Anybody else? I don't feel like I'm going to get anything new to add to the lore, and anything they do add will just be like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm hoping there's something more to this movie than just, or maybe this is what I need, just them running around from a xenomorph in space that spits acid crawling through the ventilation. And maybe that's exactly what this movie is going to be. And maybe that's all we deserve, but I'm really hoping they add something more to the lore. I'm so pissed off. The biggest detriment to the Alien franchise is Prometheus. Like, once again, a beautiful concept of a movie. That truly intrigues me. They threw everything in that movie that I would love to see. And then they just sort of bastardize it with terrible execution. And you go, you almost had it. And I just wish they would have returned to that concept and fleshed that out a bit more and maybe crafted a bit better. And by the way, Alien Covenant, what was it with David and the flute? That flute scene. Someone really explain that to me. That's what I'm talking about. Who put that in there? Okay. The next one comes from Movies for Life, who says, did you get Dune 2 in 4K? Also, thoughts on the new Batman show on Amazon. I have not watched the new Batman show on Amazon. I just have not had a moment to do it. But can I ramble on for a minute? Would you guys like me to ramble on just for 1 minute, as I'm 20 minutes behind on your glorious, beautiful questions? I started watching the new season of Cobra Kai, and I quite enjoyed the first 2 seasons of Cobra Kai, and it's gotten progressively worse, let's be honest, but me and my friend always watched it, and we had a good time and laughed and made fun of it. John Kreese is just fucking crazy. Just no matter what, he will just abuse small children, blow things up, go to prison. Why? Because Cobra Kai. Oh yeah, what is Cobra Kai, John Kreese? It's a dojo in a strip mall where I teach young kids karate. Like, that's it. That's the meaning of his life. That in Vietnam. And this newest season, I'm on the 2nd or 3rd episode, and oh my God, it is the worst thing I've ever seen. Talk about beating a dead horse. Oh God, it's so awful. So I don't know if I can continue. I really don't. And that I wanted to. I really did. So I have not watched the new Batman show on Amazon. And I think I do have Dune 2 on 4K. I think I have the Steelbook or something. I do. But you know what? I want to show you guys a few new Steelbooks. I have them sitting here ready to go. These were sent to me. This is Captain Phillips on Steelbook, the 4K. And this is from Sony. So thanks, Sony. I don't remember when they sent this, but it's been here for 2 weeks. And I do owe them a moment to talk about their film on 4K Steelbook. I enjoyed Captain Phillips. I did not see this for maybe 5 years when it originally came out. Don't ask why. But watching this for the first time, I was like, I was mad at myself. It was one of those movies that you don't watch because you have like a preconceived notion. Then you finally give it a chance and it's everything you wanted it to be and more. So that's how I felt about Captain Phillips. Would I ever watch it again? No. But I did enjoy it, the first time experience. And if you're looking for good, and here's a crazy little side note about me. My favorite genre of film are survival films. Those are the most intense kinds of movies you can give me. Movies like Captain Phillips, for example, are 127 hours. Those movies, the older I get, the more immersed I get into them because I put myself in that situation and I understand my own mortality a bit more and they just hit me. So quite recommend Captain Phillips, especially on 4K, damn it. So thanks, Sony. Here's a movie called Civil War, which is by the director of 28 Days Later, Ex Machina, and I quite enjoyed Ex Machina, another one of those movies that I skipped for years and years. And then I finally watched it and I slapped myself in the face and said, John, why didn't you do that sooner? But Civil War is not one of those movies. You know, it's not like Ex Machina. The best way I can describe Civil War, and the live chat has not updated in quite some, there we go. It's updating now. The best way I can describe Civil War was it felt like the really good season finale to a limited series. But it didn't feel like a movie. It felt like the original concept behind this was a limited series where they would have dragged it out for 8 to 10 episodes covering this same story. But this felt like the condensed version of that. So, I thought they could have done more with the concept. And I don't know why that was like the story the director felt like he needed to tell, but I don't know. The next one, I just found this today. So thanks, UPS guy. Thank you for your service and your dedication. And most importantly, thank you for delivering Collateral 4K on Steelbook. I love Collateral. I think this might be my favorite Tom Cruise performance. I think Tom Cruise should play more villains. I really do. I just feel like it's more true to who he really is. But Collateral on 4K, first of all, yes, please. It's a Michael Mann movie shot with like early digital video cameras, so it's grainy as shit, but it has the right look and feel that just fits that late LA nighttime feel, and it's the perfect tone for this movie. So I did not have the Steelbook version of this, and now I'm glad I do. That is probably one of my top 50 movies of all time. It just might be my favorite Michael Mann movie. You know, I love me some Heat, but I find Collateral a bit more rewatchable. And the last one, but certainly not least, speaking of like seedy nighttime movies, this is on Steelbook as well. I meant to show this on the last live show, but I completely forgot. Please forgive my sins against humanity. I will punish myself later. So this is Taxi Driver on 4K Steelbook. I have the 4K version of this, but I have it in that Columbia Classics big box. I know, poor me, right? But the thing is, if you want to watch the physical copy, you got to open up that huge box, which I have to hide back there on the bottom shelf because I have no other room for it. And I got to open it up, take it out. You know, it's a hassle. So now having this on Steelbook, I can just put it back there on the Steelbook shelf. And yes, if you look closely, let's point it out here. I feel like I'm dyslexic right now. Okay, if you look right there, that is my special 4K Steelbook shelf. Yes, that is nerdy as fuck, but I needed it. And right there is an amber from Jurassic Park. There's my Blockbuster sign, some YouTube play buttons. When I once achieved something in life, and then you have the Back to the Future DeLorean. If you guys want me to do a tour video sometime, I can do that. But anyway, those are a quick few Steelbooks I have now that make me feel better about who I am and what I'm doing. So let's get back to the questions. Here we go. James Dozier says, John, as a kid, did you ever think wrestling was real? Yes, for about 4 months, maybe. I thought wrestling was real back in 1998. And then one day it just clicked with me that it was not. And then I got really angry at it for about 1 week. I was like, I'm not watching that anymore. And then a week after that, I was like, you know what? Let me just tune in and see what's going on. And then I fell in love with it for an entirely different reason. And I think it was the better, most pure reason. You know, it's... So yes, at one point I was a delusional child who thought wrestling was real. But then it clicked very quickly that it wasn't. So... But it's real to me, damn it. Horror by Jordy says, it's about a guy who was inspired by Point Break to rob banks with prosthetics on his face. And did I mention he lived in a treehouse in the middle of the woods? It's insane. Oh, that's How to Rob a Bank, the documentary? Okay, you just sold me with that premise. The fact that he lives in a treehouse, why is this not a movie? Why is this not a movie? It sounds like a movie starring Owen Wilson from 2005. Okay. The next one comes from the movie Raider, who says, John, what's your opinion of Topher Grace's Eddie Brock in Spider-Man 3? I don't want to sound like a broken record who just says, terrible casting choice, awful performance. I don't know if you can tell, but my spidey senses are tingling. Like, it just, as his eyebrows are taped back. Another bad decision in a multitude of other bad decisions, you know, in one movie. And not to mention, Spider-Man 3, I don't want to share, if you've already heard the story, please forgive me. But Spider-Man 3 was one of the worst movie experiences of my life. It was a hot, humid theater. The air conditioning didn't work. Packed theater, terrible, overly long movie, and the fucking guy behind me chewing his popcorn with his mouth wide open for 2.5 hours. And, you know, you try to be nice. You really do. I could tell he wasn't doing it on purpose. But after about an hour and a half, I think my other friend beside me said, "Sir, can you shut the fuck up?" And at that point, Tobey Maguire was on the screen with eyeliner, not holding doors open for people, doing the emo dance in the bar, and it was just the most surreal experience. And I never want to go back to it ever again in my life. I really don't. It's just a bad all-around movie and experience. Let's go to the next question. Andy says, what's the oldest movie you own? Oh gosh, I'm sure I own something back there from the 1940s. Do I own a copy of Nosferatu on like something? No, maybe I don't. Maybe I have it on DVD. I don't know. I'd probably say there's got to be something. I want to. It might technically be Wizard of Oz, 1939, right? But if I have something older than that, I could not tell you what it is. I really couldn't. Okay, the next one comes from Edward Nito, who says, and thanks for the question, Edward. Very generous. Thank you so much. Sup, John? I got a chance to see Deadpool and Wolverine this weekend. It hurt to laugh, but I enjoyed the movie nonetheless. On a side note, have you seen the movie Airheads? Yeah, man. Loved Deadpool Wolverine. You know, it was pure. It was unadulterated. It was the movie I think Marvel needed. It was an injection of adrenaline straight into the heart. I loved it. I don't like. It was exactly what I wanted to see from Marvel. It really was. Would I say it's the best comic book movie ever made? No. But damn it, it was probably one of the funniest. So, and Hugh Jackman in that movie. Watching him makes me feel something. Like, even as the movie's rambunctious and crazy and he's wearing a yellow jumpsuit, when Hugh Jackman's talking in that movie and giving monologues, yeah, it's like, that is a man. That is an actor. So anyway, I have seen Airheads. I remember seeing that for the first time back in the 90s. And I was a stupid little kid. We had HBO, and I would just, every movie that came on HBO, I was like, what is this? What is this? And it would feed me new movies that I would probably never accidentally discover, you know? And so I remember watching Airheads every time it was on HBO. And that was before I knew who like Steve Buscemi was, or I knew who Adam Sandler was. And I think that was like the first time I saw Brendan Fraser in a movie. So yeah, I loved Airheads. And then Brendan Fraser was in George of the Jungle. and then he was in The Whale. Okay, the next one comes from Greg Sheen, who says, "Hey Johnny boy, give us your Oscar-winning impersonation of John Connor." Oh, that's okay. That's the oddest thing anyone's ever asked me, but I have to oblige, right? Easy money. Thanks for the award. Hasta la vista. You don't say some shit like that. Now promise me you're not gonna kill anyone. Thanks. I don't know. Oh, did you want John Connor or did you want Edward Furlong the child? I always resort to Edward Furlong the child. Did you want John Connor from like Terminator Salvation? That's completely different John Connor. You got to be more specific. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, Night King 01 says, John, how was The Bounty? Night King 01 has been asking me to watch The Bounty for 2 years. I watched the first 15 minutes. I simply have not went back, but I do want to finish it one day. I promise, man. Anyway, I'm only kidding, but seriously, you need to finish it. Also, on the other period films you've watched recently that you go back to often. Also, any other period films I go back to? No Troy or Gladiator. We know you love those. Some period films. I had a great joke for that. I won't go there. Well, I'm trying to think. Not recently, to be honest with you. I mean, other than like watching House of the Dragon, which kind of feels like a period film, and in no sense actually just feels older, I guess. Don't get me talking about House of the Dragon season 2, damn it. But not recently, really. I am looking forward to the new Gladiator. You know, I don't care if it's just 1/10 as good of quality as Gladiator. I don't expect much, but just that ancient Roman time period. Oh, take me there now, please. That's how desperate I am. Just let me escape reality, immerse me into this. If it's kind of a good, the bar is low, I will probably enjoy it. But, you know, if maybe it's surprising. I don't know. Ridley Scott, another director who's very hit or miss these days. But, yeah, nothing much recently. Dumbo Polonese Pizza. I think I said that right. Hey, John, your thoughts on House of the Dragon season 2? I didn't know that was the next question. I really didn't. But great timing. Listen, I like House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon season 2 I thought was almost like watching paint dry half the time. It felt like they took 4 episodes of an 8-episode season and they dragged those out. They really, like, there was 3 or 4 episodes where they had nothing to say. Just nothing. Just nothing to say. You just felt like nothing was happening. And I'm all for character development and building up a story and really leading to something. But man, oh man, were they clearly missing 2 more episodes of this season. It would have been like leading up to the Battle of the Bastards. And then right before that happens, yeah, we'll just, maybe next season you'll see that. And then 3 more episodes fulfilling your need for entertainment. Not in this. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed some of the storytelling elements, but I know that I believe they had to cancel or the budget was cut, and they had to condense this into a shorter season. Maybe it was the writer's strike. I'm not quite sure what the reason was, but clearly something was done differently than what was the original plan, and it was really underwhelming. It was just a lot of boring character moments, like the character Matt Smith's character, sorry, hang on, let's slow the chat. Damon's character, there we go, he keeps having these hallucinations, and after the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th one, you go, okay, can you get to the fucking point, please? And no, it just keeps going and going. And it was really just, it was a bizarrely dragged out and oddly paced season. And they were just really trying to fill up space. So yeah, maybe that was the issue, but it just really left you unfulfilled. And now you have to wait 2 more years just for what you should have got in the next week or 2. I don't know. I feel a bit cheated. And I guess maybe they had some kind of obligation to just continue and get something out, but that's what it felt like. There's a couple cool dragon fights and whatnot, but damn it. And also, my biggest complaint with House of the Dragon is I'm waiting for that one character I can latch onto, and I have not been given it yet. And I'm trying really hard, you know? I feel like the stepchild who just wants a relationship with their father, but they can never quite get it no matter how hard they try. So that's what House of the Dragon feels like, but with dragons. I like watching it, but just really bad season. Really, really underwhelming. If this had happened with the original Game of Thrones, if one of their seasons had been of this quality, like, people would have rioted. And I would say season 8 of Game of Thrones was better than season 2 of this by far. Like, I was actually somewhat entertained. I was disappointed, but at least I was entertained with season 8 of Game of Thrones. But yeah, I hated season 2. I really did. And I wanted to love it. It was really disappointing. The next question comes from, let's get this one here. Mika Howlborn, who says, and thanks for the generous super chat. What's up, John? I just revisited American Psycho for the first time in years, and the entire time I was thinking, why the hell do I not watch this movie weekly? Absolutely lose it at the homeless man scene. You reek of shit. Get a goddamn job. You know what, Al? I don't think we have anything in common. Yeah. Patrick Bateman. It's weird that you can like that guy, isn't it? It's really a study on people and consumerism and the soothing sounds of Whitney Houston and Phil Collins. But thanks for the question. I believe that was playing at a cinema a couple weeks ago. They were re-showing that, American Psycho. And I think my local AMC or my local Regal is actually showing Point Break. I was kind of like intrigued to go see that again. But thanks for the question. All right, the next one comes from James Doshier, says, heels or baby faces, which do you like the most? Oh, I'm a heel guy by far. I love a good bad guy. Let's see. Brian Kirshabaum says, what's your least favorite Star Wars movie or TV show? Oh, probably, I mean, it's really hard to pick a thing Star Wars I hate the most these days because it's like I hate all of it. Oh, God. Probably Rise of Skywalker. I would probably go with Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. That felt like the most commercialized, lazy bullshit attempt at shitting out a Star Wars movie with no passion, no real love behind it. Just here's a Star Wars movie. We released it by Christmas. Give us some money. Clearly, we fucked up. That's what that felt like. So, Rise of Skywalker. What an afterthought. Just what can we bring back? I don't know. Palpatine! How's he get here? I don't fucking know. Put him in the movie! So, yeah. Here we go. Claudia Rogajon says, do you hear about Vanilla Ice's new energy drink? I have not heard about it. No, is it called Vanilla Ice? That'd be a good name, I guess. No, I have not. Now I want to try it. Steven says, what is your favorite Denis Villeneuve movie? Villeneuve. I love me some Prisoners. I'd probably go with Prisoners. Dune 2 is pretty fucking epic. But I don't know. Maybe Prisoners. I think Prisoners would be my favorite. But no, you know what? Sicario, the first Sicario, the way the first Sicario looks and the way it's shot and that sort of like gritty, like seediness, but the movie, every shot looks so beautiful. The cinematography in that movie, I love when a camera can just stay stationary but moves. Like that scene in the first Sicario film where they have that transport of like militarized vehicles driving into the Mexican prison, and you have that really suspenseful scene, and you just feel like everything that could go wrong is about to go down. I love that. That's one of my favorite shots of any film in the last 25 years, and I don't know if I've ever shared that with you guys. That's why these are therapeutic. But no, Sicario might be my favorite movie of his, and then right beside that would be Prisoners. There you go. The next one comes from Jonas Gerald. No one just has normal names like Tom Smith. That's like I feel like I'm having aneurysms when I read your names. While we all have our nostalgia bias, do you think it's possible to make timeless movies starring child actors like Home Alone or Stand By Me in today's Hollywood? What certain qualities would be required to get something as magical and timeless today? That's a great question, and that's what's missing from modern day movies. And when I say I don't like something like Twisters, it's exactly that little element that's missing, that timelessness, where there's like that pure charisma that just oozes through the cinema screen into our eyeballs. It's that little element, like Macaulay Culkin giving that performance where it just felt like this little kid could say anything and do anything. You would believe it. It didn't feel like there was 40 adults standing around just coercing him where to go and what to say. It felt like he actually had charisma and it oozed through the screen. I feel like that's a big element missing. So when you say a timeless movie, something like, I would say something like The Sandlot in the 90s is timeless. Stand By Me, definitely timeless. But how to get that nowadays? I don't know. I'm trying to think of the last film that had that to it. And I'm sure maybe sometimes in Stranger Things, I do get a bit of that. At times I feel like there's actually a little bit of that timelessness oozing through the screen where I think in 20 years, Stranger Things will kind of be like this cool show to go watch. It'll almost be as rewatchable as something like Home Alone, because you just feel like there's some real charisma coming through the screen when you say coming of age movies, but I'm saying a TV show. The other one, which is kind of an odd one that comes to mind, that kind of feels like a genuine version of something with child actors in it, was the movie Mud with Matthew McConaughey. But those two kids, they felt like real teenagers, the way they spoke, and just like talk to each other. I thought that was like a genuine kind of interaction, but I hope I answered the question there. That got really weird and deep. Let's go to the next question. There we go. Claudio Rogajan says, the new Batman show isn't very good. Yeah, that's sort of what I've heard just scrolling through TikTok. That's sort of the general consensus, which is why I was not that intrigued to watch it. The main problem is it's just forgettable. The stories are forgettable and the characters are nothing special, especially Two-Face, which was surprising. Batman's fine, but he has so little sarcasm, so little screen time. Yeah, I get it. You can't beat the original. You just really can't from the 90s. That was my reason to live after school. Mika MRKD, John, did you watch The Boys? No, I have not watched the newest season whatsoever. I just got kind of turned off from the show in season 3. I couldn't stay invested. So no, I have not watched the new season. But I like me some Homelander. I like the character. I can't get into the show. Why is the new season any better? I hope it's an improvement. Mickey C says, hey, old man, what are your thoughts on the TV shows taking 2 years now to produce new seasons? Like gaming production cycles, they can't be sustainable. Yeah, the 2 years in between seasons, man, like I get it. The production quality, the epicness, the effects, that shit takes time. It really does. I mean, nothing's easy these days, right? And it's all so expensive to produce. And, to a certain standpoint, I mean, they're making like 9 little mini movies. That takes time. So yeah, I wish they could I wish the shooting schedule was more back to back and you could shoot 2 seasons at a time. But I guess for logistical reasons, they just can't do that. So yeah, it's hard to get really invested in TV shows these days, isn't it? Okay, well, I'll watch the next season in 2 years, but that's the price you pay to have like the epicness of something like Game of Thrones or Stranger Things. It's not like making new episodes of Seinfeld. It's just people standing around on a set talking. What are these? Penis or something? Do I open them or do I eat them? Robin J. Young says, it's so funny you mentioned Cobra Kai. I also had to stop watching after Kreese got bitten by a snake and started having visions. If happened to this show, yes, it did die. Once they had a new flashback of John Kreese in Vietnam every 17 seconds, and then just no one actually developing as a person, it's just like, okay, well, I think we're done here. They had the karate tournament. Everyone's friends now. What are we doing? Who really does this? Do you know anyone who likes anything as much as these kids like karate? I wish I could love something that much. Don't get me wrong. It can be a guilty pleasure occasionally. But damn, these should just be 2-hour movies, not 9 episodes of a season. That's what they should be. All right. And Danny LaRusso in Cobra Kai, he's such a prick, isn't he? He just seems like such a whiny asshole. Gosh. All right. Elliot Cecil says, House of the Dragon finale was disappointing. It just gave us blue balls with not much payoff. It absolutely did. I couldn't believe that's the way they were ending it. I was like, wait. That was the final episode of the season. I thought, I was like, I double checked twice. I was like, of course. That season that dribbled on would do that to you. It's like, it was like, okay. No. Well, I guess fuck me for 2 years until I get what I actually expected to happen this season. But once again, I'm sure the budget was cut or time was cut. But if all that being the case, maybe just film the epic conclusion now and release like a 2-hour version of it next year rather than wait and then shoot the next season whenever after that. I don't know. Maybe I'm being selfish. I just wanted to see something that was fulfilling by the end of that. Oh no, here's another vision for Damon. Okay. And the mud wrestling scene, Claudia Rogajon says, we know what sucks. Most of the deleted scenes of what they cut actually... What are we talking about, Claudio? Oh, we're talking about Spider-Man 3? Eddie, okay, let me try to comprehend this. You got to give me some context what I'm talking about here. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Night King. We'll go with Night King 01's question real quick. I watched the first 5 episodes of Cobra Kai. I guess it had more energy than you make it all the way, but man, it was terrible. Everything was just bad. The show is so unpleasant to watch. It looks like a soap opera. Yeah, I can live with the soap opera vibe. I really can. But it just it gets so redundant. And these kids, I don't know if they have a mild form of maybe a learning disability, but they can just never really just settle their differences without doing roundhouse kicks in the mall. And it only works for so long. But sometimes, damn it, it does hit me in the feels. But it does get repetitive very quickly. It feels like a Saturday afternoon show for 9-year-old children. I wish it had a little more teenage maturity to it, and I don't think that's asking too much. Okay. Claudio's question was, so the deleted scenes of Eddie Brock added more context to the character. Yeah, I don't think Tom Hardy's a good Venom either, man, by any means. I really don't. Hey, Mrs. Chin, what is this, a virus or something? Okay. So I don't think either do Eddie Brock justice. I don't think Topher Grace or Tom Hardy do. I think Tom Hardy's a better choice. I just don't know if his performance is any better. And the Venom movies aren't that good either. I think they're pretty bad. Which is really unfortunate. But yeah, I would love to see a great, gritty ass version of Venom brought to the big screen. It's just Sony. They always fumble. I don't know what it is. Lee B. Film says, thoughts on 4:30 movie by Kevin Smith. Have you seen the trailer? Yeah, it's about a kid. Isn't it kind of a movie about his life? I think I saw the trailer once. It's like a kid asking out a girl. It's sort of inspired by Kevin Smith's life, is it not? I thought I saw it. It looked intriguing. I definitely like to check it out. But the truth is, I've been trying to actively avoid movie trailers. If I come across them, I might watch the first 10 seconds. And I'm like, that's it. I don't want to be subjected to any more. Because it's one of the very few things I have to look forward to in life. So I don't want to, I want to savor the flavor. So yeah, I try to avoid trailers now if I can. But then unless you go to the movie theater too early, then you're subjected to watch every single one of them. And by the time I see the movie, I'm like, damn it. Like Alien Romulus, please no more trailers. Just let me watch it. Big Tony Rocket says, have you watched Lars and the Real Girl yet? I have not. Jesus Salcido says, Cobra Kai is so stupidly cringe, but so addicting. Yeah, sometimes it's addicting, but man, after a while, you get numb to it and you got to stop. It puts me to sleep. So if you want to go to sleep, watch at least one episode and 10 minutes of the next one. You will be out like a baby. The next one comes from Elliot Cecil, who says, they took too long on Damon's arc on this season. Yeah, you don't say. I mean, he sort of just pondered about in a castle for 3 months and then left. And I just thought to myself, this could have been condensed into one episode. Maybe 2 visions would have been sufficient. But yeah, it almost got comical by the 9th time. I was like, okay, I bet Damon's going to have another stupid vision in this one. And sure enough, he does. Night King 1 says, John, let's talk about House of the Dragon Season 2. Well, if we haven't already, let's do it some more. Okay, well, I'll make this one short. Personally, I don't care if there was a battle at the end, but I need some payoff. Clearly, it was cut down from 10 episodes to get 4 seasons. Though, if they stick to the book, next season is going to be a ton of battles. Well, I'm sure next season will have a ton of battles because it was supposed to happen this season, or somewhat would have been nice. And yeah, next season, if they don't give us 5 episodes of a battle, I will be disappointed. But yeah, I want to see it. 2 years is a lot to ask. I feel a bit cheated. But I'm looking forward to it. I do know how the general storyline of House of the Dragon goes, but they switch things up. And knowing how that actual storyline goes from the books, I think there's like a couple twists they could do to switch it up. And I think the outcome could be more or less the same. I won't give it away, but just a theory. I feel like they will switch a few things up, not to make it exactly like the book. But then again, people will get pissed off, so maybe it'll be exactly like the book. I don't know. Elliot Cecil says, oh, we already answered that. Mika Claiborne, I answered this earlier. Cypress, thanks for the question. Knox says, what's your opinion on Succession? I haven't seen it. Well, if you're looking for an informative, visceral review on Succession, it's probably not going to come from me because I don't think I've seen it. Or Succession, the one show with Macaulay Culkin's brother. Was that on HBO? I think I watched a few episodes. If that's not it, I don't know. William Main says, how would Pat Bateman address Bully Maguire? Well, you see, Peter, we have a reservation at Doors here later. Yes, you can dance. No, don't wear stripes. Yes, tip the owner. Hey, Peter. And he just chops his fucking head off and it rolls. Oh, that would have been great. I don't know. Like that, I guess. Sorry. 333 says, do you know which neighbor you're eating first when the apocalypse happens? Okay, yes, but I refuse to say. Only for legal reasons. And plus, just listen, in all seriousness, if somehow, some way, my neighbor who has no idea that I make YouTube videos just so coincidentally was happening to watch this right now, I just don't know if I could look at them when I walk outside to mow my grass anymore. So for that reason alone, I will not give the name. But yes, someone will be eaten. And yes, they do live within a football field away. Okay. Hey, listen. It's just a joke. Okay? Okay, let's go to the next one. Graham Hoddell says, I missed you, Johnny. Just watch Eyes Wide Shut. What are your thoughts? Graham, thank you for the generous question. Eyes Wide Shut. Take it off. I think if you look at that film closely, there's definitely a clear-cut message Stanley Kubrick was sending about some skeezy stuff that may happen in reality. Maybe that's just a theory, but look into that theory. Quite interesting. I think as a film, it's not one of my favorite Kubrick films by any means. One quick tidbit I remember about that movie was Stanley Kubrick was a perfectionist and he would do a lot of takes. And I remember hearing once that he made Tom Cruise walk through a doorway 180 times to get it just right. So yeah, Eyes Wide Shut. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it was never one of my favorite Kubrick movies, and I believe it was his last movie. Was that a substantial amount of facts and details about that movie? I hope that was a fulfilling answer. Okay, the next one comes from, I'm still stuck on which neighbor would I eat. I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry, but thank you for that question. Thanks, Graham. Initial MC says, oh, hi, John, in Tommy Wiseau voice. Oh, I got that. Hope you are magical and mystical. What lawn tools would you use in an apocalypse to defeat a horde? Well, let me tell you something about me, not to bore all of you. I know 290 of you don't want to hear a 37-year-old man talking about his power tools, but that's where I'm at in life. I buy Ryobi. I know, I'm a suburban guy, but I like the neon green. It makes me feel alive. It's almost like playing with G.I. Joes, but you're doing lawn care outside. That's what Ryobi tools make me feel like. I don't buy action figures anymore to play with in the bathtub. No. I buy new cutting shears and a new weed whacker to play outside. So, Would I use that? Probably not. Maybe I'd get like, oh God. You know what? I'll go with my Ryobi. If they're listening, send me a sponsorship. I'll take a new leaf blower. Thanks. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one comes from, sorry if you guys don't like power tools and you came here for movies. I know. I'm really disappointing you right now. Carter Lovejoy says, you excited for The Last of Us Season 2? Max recently showed new footage from it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I think I enjoy it. I don't love The Last of Us. I think it's a really good show. But it's definitely not one of those where I think, oh man, in 5 years, I'd like to go back and revisit this. I think there were some like creative choices that were a little bit underwhelming. But am I looking forward to it? Absolutely. I love me a post-apocalyptic wasteland. I'll take what I can get. I did try to watch Fallout. I really tried to like it. I wanted to like it. I was looking forward to it. And I just couldn't get past like episode 5. I know. I'm sorry. What's wrong? Am I the problem, or was the show just not that good? Who's the problem? What's wrong? You tell me. All right. The next one comes from Tripler3, who says, Election 1998, Bad Boys 1983 are Gummo are on 4K this year. Are you excited to see the kid bicep curl spoons in 4K? Yeah, if you haven't seen Gummo, just leave right now. Find it, obtain it, get it however you can. Whatever dark crevice you have to crawl into, get Gummo. Watch it at least once in your life. You will not want to eat when you watch it. It's utterly disgusting. It's grotesque, but I love it. You have to experience it once in your life. So that's really bizarre. Gummo's coming out on 4K. Would I buy it on 4K? Absolutely not. I don't think I'd ever watch that. I can only handle like YouTubing scenes of it occasionally. There's like a little kid who eats spaghetti in a bathtub. I was going to say more. I don't want to get demonetized. But the other thing I wanted to say, yeah, Election. I love me Election. That's such an underrated movie from 1999. Check that out. Bad Boys, 1983. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Landon Lee says, if you had the power to do so, which bad MCU movie would you love to go redo? Well, that's a great question. There's bad MCU films, but not a lot I would want to redo. I just think that's not intriguing enough to want to touch or redo in any way. Like the Marvels. Like, I think the best version of that would still be a mediocre movie. And some people will get mad about that. It's like, it's just weird. I want to meet them. Like, who are you? But if I could redo any movie in the MCU, maybe, just maybe, I think Hulk 2008, 2009, Incredible Hulk. I think there was so much potential with that. And I like that movie. I think it's a good guilty pleasure. But I think if you could just get that right and get that tone perfected and kind of give it maybe a more of a modern day, not even modern day, just give it that right tone that came about 5 years later in Marvel. When you got to Winter Soldier, like that kind of tone, inject that into the Hulk movie. And I think that could have been a much better movie than it was. That would be one cool movie to redo, especially the character Incredible Hulk. I think that's just a really fascinating character to me. A guy who fucking roid rages out and turns green. Hey, we've all been there. I get it, man. Except I've just never worn purple pants when I've done it. You know, that's the big difference. The next one comes from El Torres, who says, so far, sorry, I read that so weird. So far, what's your favorite movie of the year, your most disappointing, and your worst? Hope you are doing fine. I hate questions like that because I can never remember what I've watched. I just simply cannot recall. Thinking on most disappointing or worst movie so far this year, I don't know. I'd have to dig really deep in there because to me, most disappointing it means I had an expectation and that movie just failed to deliver in every aspect. But there might technically be worse movies, so it's really biased. But you are asking me my opinion, so it's all subjective, right? So I don't know. For me, the biggest letdown of the year, and it just was like, a perfect example of how Hollywood just can't get it right was Frozen Empire, Ghostbusters. Like, they couldn't just give me a fun action movie with the Ghostbusters. They just couldn't do it. But two of my favorites this year would probably be Dune 2. I liked Furiosa. I need to rewatch it again. And I don't want to sound cliche or some jackass who only likes big blockbuster comic book movies. I wish it was an art house movie. But Deadpool and Wolverine, for me, that encapsulated everything that should be done right now with a comic book movie that catered to an audience who's pissed off at the baby food versions that we've been getting lately. And this injected a little bit of life into that and really just said, we're not afraid anymore. Here's dudes that look like comic book characters and there's some adult humor in here. And it was meta as shit, but it's what we needed right now. It was just like a nice new flavor to enjoy, So that was a weird way of putting it. What does it taste like? I don't know. If it was Hugh Jackman, hey, I'd take a drink. But I thought Deadpool Wolverine was like what I needed from the comic book genre, and it filled my needs. And plus, you had the buddy team up cop vibe with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. And that is such a dynamic that very rarely makes you feel anything, and that did. I thought that was the perfect chemistry, and they just ooze that. And once again, there you go. I'm a sucker when any actor can ooze some charisma, that sells me. You can be in kind of a mediocre movie, the dialogue might be shit, but it's just that charisma oozing out that highlights that and elevates it. It's like Jeff Goldblum. If anyone else delivered some of the lines of dialogue he's delivered in movies like, I don't know, for Jurassic Park, for example, it would not work. You would not remember that line. But because Jeff Goldblum has that charisma, boom. So I think I answered the question there. I couldn't even remember what it was. Let's just keep going. Herman Levunes says, hey, John, any particular reason you stopped lifting? It's just the last 3-4 months, I've been doing a lot of yard work and landscaping. And I know I look a little small right now. I think it's the shirt. Here, let me warm it up. Don't make this weird. I mean, I'm still in shape, I look active. I look like a guy who goes to the gym once a week, at least at some degree. But I've been doing landscaping jobs around my house. I find it more enjoyable than going into a gym under fluorescent lights, just lifting stuff around greasy people. And I find it, enjoyable to go outside and do yard work. That's kind of my workout these days. It's weird. I enjoy landscaping. That's when you're getting weird. There's nothing more cathartic in life than spreading mulch. And that's when you're dead inside. But, so no, in the wintertime, I'll probably get back into the gym. I always like to stay around at 192 pounds, as long as I look lean and, just not like a skinny alien. I'm cool with that. So I didn't stop. I took a break. Dustin Rich says, if Philip Seymour Hoffman was a sheep herder, what would he say? Hey, you need to come back now. I'm going to herd you. I'm going to herd you bad. I don't know. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Okay. Night King 01. And thanks to all 310 of you watching. I'm sorry for that. Night King 01 says, that was a weird question, by the way. Hey, John. I think that a night of 7 kingdoms will savor our thirst for House of the Dragon. It comes out in 2025, 6 episodes of a knight and a Targaryen traveling Westeros, fights, duels, everything. They showed a preview of it before episode 8. No, and that sounds like a cool premise. If you want to set it in the Game of Thrones universe, and maybe it's like that team up of a knight who's a little bit rough and what's grizzled around the edges. I'm thinking of someone like Hugh Jackman, okay? And then you have the Targaryen who might be kind of a prissy guy. That's the perfect dynamic. I really think if it's like that, and I just predicted that, please give it to me now. If it's not, well, I'll still give it a chance, but that's what I'd like to see. Is it like a team-up movie of the odd couple traveling Westeros? Hey, that sounds great. It's like Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Give it to me now. Lee B. Film says 430 movie is a coming-of-age movie set in the 1980s. Which movies by Kevin Smith and Rob Zombie do you like? Yeah, I know what 430 is. I kind of saw part of the trailer. Anyway, Kevin Smith, I love Clerks. Clerks 2's not exactly what I want, but it's a good sequel that kind of fits that universe. The newest Clerks, I was really disappointed. It was too much. So Clerks are definitely my favorite Kevin Smith movies. Also Mallrats. Whenever I'm kind of feeling down and out and I just want a feel-good movie that takes me back to the 90s that's simple, it's like something like Mallrats. So those are a couple of my favorite Kevin Smith movies. Rob Zombie has yet to make a movie I've truly enjoyed. I know someone's going to say, like Devil's Rejects, maybe at most, but I would never go out of my way to rewatch it again. I'm Willy Wonka and this is my chocolate factory. I don't know. Claudia Rogajon says, should have clarified about Eddie Brock. The way he is written in Spider-Man 3 is more accurate in terms of character and how he acts. But yes, the performance isn't anything special. Tom Hardy doesn't remotely resemble Eddie Brock's character at all. I disagree. At points, Eddie Brock was like kind of a blunt, square-jawed dude that looked a little built. I think Tom Hardy with blonde hair would resemble that. But yeah, what's the guy who plays, he plays like Jack Reacher? Oh, Jack Dude. I like him to play the new Batman at some point, but he almost kind of looks like an Eddie Brock. Maybe way too buff, but a little bit of resemblance as far as what I remember Eddie Brock looking like in the comics. Echo Vision says, John, have you seen the Trial of the Chicago 7? It's the Aaron Sorkin film, as good as The Social Network, and you should totally do a watch along. I think I watched that. Wasn't that about the riots or something, or a group of activists did something? I did watch that. That was a couple of years ago. I remember liking it. I just don't really remember the specifics of it. But I like a good courthouse kind of drama movie, which, speaking of it, that's looking like the tone of the new Joker movie. It's kind of like a trial movie. I love shit like that. So I could dig on that. The musical aspect, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, and speaking of that, has anyone ever seen My Cousin Vinny? The two youths. All right, the next one comes from Lee B. Films, who says, who's a director who only made one film that you wish that they made more movies? For me, it's Hype Williams, who made Belly, which isn't a good film. What? Hype Williams, who made... What is this question? Which director who only made one movie do you wish made more movies? Oh, God, I'm trying to think of movies I love where it was just... Can I be honest? I'll tell you what. God, I just forgot the director's name. Oh, my gosh. I want to punish myself for this. The director of Nightcrawler. Somebody give it to me. Why can I not think of that? That baffles my brain. Anyway, he's made a slew of films. I love me Nightcrawler, but nothing has just been anywhere near to that peak performance that Nightcrawler gave me in terms of entertainment and characters. I wish... Oh God, someone remind me of his name. I'm having such a blank. Anyway, but other directors who have had one-off, like one-hit wonder directors, Dan Gilroy. Oh my! Let me punish myself for my sins against humanity. There we go. Gosh, I need to talk about movies more. It's like if your brain is like an IMDb database, the older you get and the less you use it, it just starts deleting knowledge. It's weird. So yeah, Dan Gilroy. I wish he made more films anywhere similar in quality to Nightcrawler. And I know some people might like a few others, but just nothing has hit home. But other one-hit directors, I don't know. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. I don't know. The next one comes from Libby Films, who says, favorite Superbad scene, favorite zombie, werewolf, and vampire scene. And that's a good question for you guys. Who's a one-hit director you wish would have made more movies? Let me know down below. Favorite Superbad scene, Pussies on the Pavement. Pussies on the Pavement. You know, that's one. One of my favorite scenes in Superbad is where it just has a cut scene and he's like, yeah, so Friday night was a busy night, and it just shows him like hanging out with his friends, puking in the basement, watching porn, and trying to sneak into a strip club. That to me was reminiscent of my high school career, and that really hit home with me. That was another one. So yeah, I love me some Superbad. Favorite zombie, werewolf, and vampire movie? Oh God, man. There's so many zombie movies I like certain aspects of, but I'm trying to think of one like I like Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. I don't think that's the best zombie movie ever. And there's other movies like World War Z where you think this could have been so much better. Why couldn't this just been the best epic movie of all time? Or, can I talk about one werewolf scene that really has always stuck with me, but for all the wrong reasons? And I think this is the answer I'd like to share with all of you. It's a little movie called Van Helsing. And it's when Hugh Jackman turns into the shittiest CGI PS1 video game graphic werewolf that you've ever seen brought to the big screen. But for some odd reason, I love it. So that's one werewolf scene that has always stuck with me. Van Helsing. Big Tony Rocket says, Gosling falls in love with a blow-up doll, must watch. What was that in reference to? Because I will watch it. Are you talking about Barbie? And if that's not the joke, I feel witty. Dirty Dom says, the Flick Pig versus Chris Stuckman, Hell in a Cell. Oh, I choke slam him. Right on the thumbtacks. Jamaican Me Horny says, best and worst fan mail you've ever received. Whew, man. I've received some really cool things over the years. Some people have been very generous. They sent like a lightsaber from Star Wars, but like the really good lightsaber that has like perfect neon lighting inside of it in the tube, really expensive. There's been all kinds of cool things. A lot of them I still have. And I remember one guy, I won't share his name. He would write me letters that were 10 or 20 pages long, like pouring his heart out. And like, I was like, wow, this is like real shit. So I've received all kinds of things over the years. I mean, like I remember one kid, he clearly like, he must have been super young. He like stole his toys and sent them to me in like a package that was wrapped in like trash bags. And like, I was like, what the fuck? But like, I swear he sent me, like the, and maybe I'm mistaken. I swear he sent like the Khal Drogo action figure. And like, I still have that fucking thing somewhere. So all kinds of cool things over the years. Jonas Gerald says, yes, the charisma and charm of Macaulay C. and River Phoenix are impeccable. Also today, over 90% of films are shot in digital. Though tough to get some warm, timeless look on digital, I also remember you mentioned modern day technology can take you out of a film. Yes, that was quite the message and statement and question. Actually, I think that was just more of a statement. So thank you for that. Yes, I agree. Something about digital really does hinder films, but at times, like movies like Joker, the Joker movie was shot on digital, but they graded that thing and they made it look like film to me. That was like a great modern day filmic looking movie that was shot on digital. So in that example, I wish more movies could do that style, especially when it comes to like something dramatic. But there's something about that charm of something just shot on film that just, it looks like the way movies look to me because that's what movies were growing up. They had this surreal feeling to it that looked like a real life dream that you're just encapsulated in viewing it as it glows and flickers back at you. It was this beautiful dance on the screen that just made you feel like you were a part of it. That's the best way I can describe film. But even so, the new Twisters, I believe, was shot on film, but it looked super digital. And maybe it's just because the effects were so digital looking that it made the movie look flat, or maybe it's because it's a store movie and every scene's gray. But yeah, I know it was shot on film, but it looked digital to me. So great question though. The next one comes from Claudia Rogujan once again. Forget remaking The Incredible Hulk. Just release a director's cut with 40 more minutes of deleted scenes added back in. Yeah, I did like some of the deleted scenes from that movie, but I think if you just went a little further with it and it wasn't made in the year it was made in, it could have been so much more. I would love a real gritty, just ride the edge of rated R Incredible Hulk movie. I think that could be you could tell, like, for what they did with Joker, taking it very serious and making it this gritty movie that told a real story. Imagine if you brought that tone to an Incredible Hulk movie. Now, I know that's a lot to ask for, especially with, the tone of She-Hulk in the MCU at this point. But I just think that could be such imagine if you made the Incredible Hulk this Academy Award winning performance that it could be. It's just another version of Mr. Jekyll and or Mr. Hyde and Jekyll or whatever. But I think there's so much you could do with that. Who would you cast in that? I don't know. Okay, the next one comes from Zachary Zarvos. And thanks for the question, Zachary. Here we go. John, thank you for the content over the years. Just started my own channel to talk about movies while away with the Marines. Do you have any plans of coming out to California anytime soon? I do not. I've been there. I just don't really have an urge to go far anymore in life, figuratively and literally. No, I have no plans to go to California. If I go somewhere warm, it's probably going to be right down to Florida, just because that's where I'm at in life. But I do want to go to Epic Universe down in Orlando when that opens. Looks pretty cool. But yeah, good luck with your channel, man, and good luck with the Marines. I couldn't imagine it, man. That sounds intense. But good luck. What's the channel called? Share it in the chat. The next one comes from Elliot Cecil. Says, I hate that Robert Downey Jr. is returning. It's clear fan bait. Yeah, that's one thing I did want to talk about was Robert Downey Jr. Returning as Dr. Doom. Which, okay, let's back up. Let's back up. Let's just start with what I just said. Robert Downey Jr. is returning as Dr. Doom. Now, I feel like the clear and obvious reason because of this is Jonathan Majors got in some trouble. The clear path was to make the next big baddie Kang the Conqueror. And for me, I wasn't all that I wasn't really looking forward to that. I just thought this was like another henchman to go through before they get to the next movie. And I just King of the Conqueror's story doesn't really do much for me. And if the start of that was any indication from Ant-Man Quantumania, why would you want to see that continue on? So yeah, I wasn't looking forward to that. So when they kind of shifted gears, now, first of all, even if Robert Downey Jr. wasn't attached, it instantly gets me more excited that the next big villain of the MCU will be Doctor Doom. I think that's such a cool character that hasn't quite been explored to the level that he should be with the Fantastic Four films that we've gotten. I still have a guilty pleasure love for Rise of the Silver Surfer. I know it's kind of shitty, but I kind of like it. Hey, the Silver Surfer looks like the Silver Surfer in that movie. What? Galactus was a giant storm cloud. I know. But you got to take what you can get. So Robert Downey returning, I don't hate it and I don't really love it. But let's be honest. This man is money. He brings the heart back to the MCU. And hey, maybe this is just fan service, and as I've always said for like the last 9 years on YouTube, and I have videos showing me say it. I'm the originator of such a great quote, and I stand by that because I've always been a fan. So service me. And Robert Downey Jr. can do that as an actor. Is it a little bit cheap to capitalize on that again? I don't know, but in the multiverse, anything's possible. And I think I've had just enough time in between things with the MCU kind of on a downward spiral, lacking charisma, that I'm at a point where I'm so desperate for some of it that Marvel finally woke up and said, you know what? You want what you used to have? Here it goes. It's a different version, okay? But at the same time, I think watching Robert Downey Jr. play the villainous intellect Doctor Doom, I could really see that in a multiverse version of Tony Stark to some degree, So I kind of like it. And I'm at a point where I'm so desperate for the MCU just to get back on track and really just have a clear indication of where they're going and get back on to quality. And I'm not saying like Guardians 3 wasn't good. But Thor Love and Thunder, come on. That was a pretty big low point, wasn't it? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, to be honest with you. I will be excited until the movie proves me wrong. And if it doesn't work in that movie, and if they don't do it justice, I will admit so. But I feel like Robert Downey returning wouldn't do so unless there was some kind of performance to give that he hasn't given already to really spice it up. That's at least what I'm hoping. I hope he chews up every scene that he's in. So, if for nothing else, I am looking forward to it. Is it a bit lazy? Yeah, well, sure, yeah. But after thinking about him returning, I don't know who else I'd want to see. A Night King 01 says, I think you missed my Streamlabs. I will scroll back and check it out. Akai Knight says, hi, John. What's the last 5 movies you watched? It is too late to remember the last 5 movies I've watched. I cannot do that right now. I cannot remember the last 5. Okay. Trapped, which we talked about. Deadpool Wolverine. But I know I watched a lot of movies at home. Oh, God. That's a great question. I can't remember the movies I've watched at home. That's sad. I know I watched something weird this week. I had to have, but I cannot recall it right now. Big Tony Rocket says, no, Lars and the Real Girl is the blow-up doll. Okay, yes, got it. No, I have not seen it. I've heard of it. That's like a 2000s comedy movie. Yes, I can picture the cover. I just can't quite remember it. Night King, I'm looking for your question, buddy. I don't see it down there. Can you type it again in the normal chat and I will read that shit? Okay. Ricky Ticky Bobby Whoopin says, how much did YouTube pay you per month when you did it full time? Not enough. I'll tell you that. And I'll tell you something about YouTube these days. I made a couple videos on my main channel a couple weeks ago. And like I saw the views and I'm just like, YouTube doesn't pay people shit anymore. Oh my God. CPMs have really dropped. So it's scary. It's like YouTube has more ads than they've ever have, but they pay people who create YouTube videos less than they ever have. I think there's just too much competition now on social media. So I don't know. I don't know. I made a pretty good living. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, gosh, I was trying to, I'd make like a few thousand a month from the YouTube AdSense, but sponsorships are how I made any real money from YouTube. The AdSense fluctuated, some months it was pretty good. But it was never anything astounding. And for some odd reason, when I started YouTube and when I stopped, like I missed the high point. What's the next one? Okay, here we go. There's a blow-up dog. Here we go. Libby Film says, what horror movie do you think you could survive? Oh, God. Which horror movie do I think I could survive? You know what? Maybe Child's Play. And I'm going to tell you why. I know I know this doll is running at me with a steak knife, but it's still a little doll that weighs 2 pounds. I really feel like if I grabbed a laundry basket and I just jumped and my timing was right, I could really just win that battle with Chucky. Even if you wanted to play hide the soul. So maybe Child's Play, I think I could survive that. There's no surviving Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger is going to get my ass, and I like to sleep a lot, so I'm a dead man. Jason Voorhees, I don't want to run that long in the woods. What if I get poison ivy? I know I'm going to get lost. So yeah, probably we'll go with Child's Play. The next one comes from Jonas Gerald once again, who says, yes, thanks, John. Great answer to my question/statements regarding timeless movies. By the way, it's crazy how many insecure people with zero critical thinking skills write on your Twitter reaction/reviews. It's simultaneously hilarious and sad. Sometimes I'm really let down by people too in the comment section. And it's just like, I just wish they got it. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm supposed to be a little more simpler to cater to the masses. And, you know, I don't know. I just feel like you just got to be kind of wacky and talk in simple terms to really get people's attention nowadays. No one likes nuance. You either have to scream and be happy about movies or really monotone and speak slowly and talk about movies in a nice way. Or I don't even know what the other genre is anymore. I really don't want to know what it is. It's like maybe a reaction video would be good too. But yeah, I feel like there's a disconnect. Did that relate to the question? Yes. Was that even the question? But yes, thank you. Oh yeah, the comments in the YouTube videos. Yeah, sometimes I'm really disappointed. But I mean, I see that under like really well created, thought-provoking videos as well. And it's just like people who don't understand how to, like, I don't know, formulate a thought. So yeah, that's the thing about YouTube. You know, some people in the comment section get it, some don't. Some people are really mean, like angry, like they're mad that you thought differently than they did about a movie. And to me, that's always fascinating. So, you know, hey, I love reading them though. Sometimes they're really interesting. You know what my favorite comment is? When there's like hard truth in it. That's my favorite comment, where it's just like, it hits home with me, even if it's like a personal critique, even if it's like a personal attack. If there's some truth to it, I go, yeah, you get it. At least you're seeing me for who I really am, and I can appreciate that. But other comments where it's like, Deadpool Wolverine, worst movie ever made. It's like, is that an AI bot? And then why would someone have an AI bot saying that that movie's bad? Like, what benefit would that be? I don't know. I had a comment to make about in my video where I talk about Twisters, where I didn't really like the movie. A lot of people got mad. A lot of people said that was like their favorite movie they've ever seen. And I just don't know how to respond to that. Connor Malroy says, Redbubble.com has great customizable graphic tees. I know, I have my t-shirts on there. All kinds of cool t-shirts. Go check them out. Some American Psycho ones. I had to return some videotapes. That's my t-shirt on there. Go check it out. The link is down below. It might be down below. Actually, I don't know. It's been years since I checked. Libby Film says, favorite horror movies. It depends. You know, I kind of like the tone and vibe of something like It Follows. If you're talking about something that came out in the last like decade, I really dug that simplicity. So I like It Follows. If you want classic horror movies, I like, of course, Halloween. One film I like, which is a remake, and it's one of the better remakes of almost any film I've ever seen. And this might be an overstatement, okay? I might be a little hyperbolic with this, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake from 2003-4 with Jessica Biel. I thought that was like a really great horror remake that made Leatherface fucking terrifying. Like, that dude seemed relentless. That was the most terrifying tormentor in a horror film I had seen in a long time. And Leatherface has always been a creepy as shit character, but something about him in that film terrified me. Just those scenes, those wide shots of them running through the woods. Oh man, it's just, I loved that. So I think that's one of the better remakes ever made. But those are a couple horror films I like. Connor, no, answer that. Joey Ruiz, Lord of the Rings. And by the way, I'm going to answer just a few more questions. So if you have any juicy questions, get them in the next like 30 seconds. But I will answer all of them, and we have many more questions. So don't go anywhere. We got plenty of time. I'm not rushing you. If you're in a rush, don't be. We got time. I'm just letting you know. I'm going to stop answering new questions in just 1 minute. It's getting past my bedtime. Johnny, you've seen Don't Look Up. What are your thoughts? It felt like an SNL skit that just kept going and going and going. And it's like, I got the jokes. I got the humor. Are they just bored right now? Why was this made? That's what it felt like to me. Dirty Dom says, Hugh Jackman deserves an Oscar for his portrayal of Wolverine in Deadpool 3. Grown men in my theater were sobbing. Yeah, that man, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine can give a monologue. You know, even if it's sort of like, it almost feels like he's just doing his highlight reel at times. It's still, every time, it just hits with me. I'm like, that is an actor. That is an actor. Like, no one else could give this performance right now as Wolverine. And plus, the thing that I appreciated about Deadpool and Wolverine, just from a more like deep-rooted standpoint, was, you know, I'm in my late 30s now, so I kind of was a kid when the first X-Men came out. So I've been watching Hugh Jackman play this character for the majority of my life. So whenever he's back on screen, it's just like, it kind of like you go back to every original installment and every different time period in your life where you saw him on screen. And it just feels like he's progressively got better and better as a character and almost aged into it perfectly. So that encapsulates my thoughts on Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and an actor and as a man. But damn, he's good. Okay. Tyler Goodwin says, excited for Alien Romulus. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I wish they would maybe do something new with the lore of Alien. And maybe they will, or maybe this will just be kind of another take where people are running from an alien in a spaceship, you know, and that's fine. But I'm really hoping that they add something to the lore, because I feel like that universe, there's so much you can do with it. There's so many explanations I would love to hear. I would love to hear more about just the humanity behind these people and where they're going and what life is like. And, you know, I think the world building could be expanded on in this franchise. It doesn't just need to be aliens crawling through, you know, the air ventilation system. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm just, at this point, take me to the cinema and give me something exciting to look at for 2 hours that makes me forget the mundane version of life that we currently live in. Okay. Favorite road trip snack, excluding Sour Patch Kids. Believe it or not, I'm more of a Swedish Fish fan these days. That's right. You heard it here, folks. You know, sometimes when I'm driving on the big open road late at night, one of my favorite things to get, and I typically only get this on road trips, combos. Combos in a car when you're driving down the road, delicious. When you eat them at home, kind of disgusting. Slim Jims. I want a stick of meat as I drive down the road. It feels right. At home, it feels weird. Just putting it out there. Mountain Dew. Diet Mountain Dew specifically. Kind of gross if you just drink it by itself. It's a little bit too thick. It's not very hydrating. I'd prefer a Sprite Zero. But when you're driving down the road, Mountain Dew, oh my God, it makes you feel like a kid again. So those are a few of my favorite weird off-the-wall road trip snacks to get. As you can tell, I put some thought into that over the last 20 years of my life. Will you ever return as Buff John? I don't think I have that in me. I could return as maybe like John who goes to the gym like twice a week guy, just to stay proportionate. I can be that guy. There's no room for Buff John in this in reality. He existed. He was there. I'm glad he existed, but that multiverse version of myself is now dead. Claudia Rogajon says, I saw an interview with Vince Vaughn recently, and he said that he sees R-rated edgy comedies making a comeback in the near future. Do you think this will happen? Also, did you almost shed a man tear during the end credits of Deadpool and Wolverine? Great question, man. Yeah, I think we're finally at a time where, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, and I've said that already tonight, but I will sound like a broken record just one more time. I think we went through the last 4 years of movies being kind of bland, regurgitated baby food that were so afraid to offend anyone because everyone was on hyper status because we were locked down a little bit too long. And I feel like people were a bit built up and a little sensitive at times. And just Hollywood was playing it so safe. And I think they played it too safe to the point where people are now back to the position where they want to feel something again. And I know I do. I want a visceral experience. I want a movie that challenges me. I want a studio that will put something out that they're not afraid to maybe offend two people by. And whatever that movie is, I don't know. I think of directors like Tarantino who have been doing things like that for a long time, but I wish we got more mainstream films that would push the limits. And hopefully Hollywood is coming back to a Renaissance era because it's not what we want, but it's what we need. If you can make people feel something again, they'll come to the cinema. And I think the last couple of years of films, and not every movie, there's been some great movies that have come out, but I'm talking about blockbuster movies, maybe as an example. I just think they've played it too safe and too bland. So I'm hoping there's a new era of films that come out that kind of push the limits. And, if people can accept, and I know this is like the best entry point to this statement, but Deadpool and Wolverine, rated R comic book movie, Marvel, even maybe the uptight parents will take their kids to go see this because it's Deadpool and Wolverine, but it's a little bit edgy and rated R. If movies like this can be a success and people aren't complaining and there's no complaints and there's no drama surrounding it and it pushes the limits of these characters and it's rated R and a little bit unapologetic, then maybe that opens the floodgates for more movies to do that and take a chance. And I hope and pray that happens. So in a roundabout way, I think I might have answered that question. So yes, I do see them hopefully making a comeback because what does Hollywood have to lose at this point? Joey Ruz, Lord of the Rings, says, did you like the house that Jack built, Matt Dillon? I don't think I've seen that. I think I've seen like part of it, but I did not continue. Not because like I didn't like it. I vaguely remember starting that and not finishing it. So maybe that was a fever dream I had. I couldn't talk about that movie. I don't know. The White Skull says, would you ever watch a version of Snow White where she takes drugs and hallucinates the seven dwarfs and the huntsman takes her back to his place? Geez, that went far, man. That went really far. Wasn't there that movie with Kristen Stewart called the Woodsman or whatever that was called? What was that really bad Snow White ripoff movie? I don't remember. That's kind of what you described in a weird way. I don't know. What was that called? The Huntsman or whatever? I don't know. What's a typical day at your job like? Well, some days are a little bit busier than others. I'll give you like a mildly busy day. So I basically coordinate, delegate, and plan the reconstruction process of putting people's homes back together. And there's all kinds of different types of people, customers, clients, subcontractors, limitations, insurance things that you have to cover, and a lot of logistics that you have to deal with. Basically, you have to be a babysitter and someone that can take complaints, but also get along with people and communicate very well. I like to think I can do most of those things, but not always. But yeah, so I might coordinate the reconstruction process of putting someone's house back together. So I have a lot of deliveries going there that day. I need to go check in. There's always 5 things that go wrong. I got to make some phone calls. Other days are a little bit slower. I can just kind of work on budgeting my jobs and typing some notes in and making a few calls. But every day is you got to kind of problem solve and do some admin work. It's really mundane and slightly boring. It really is. But it does require a lot of critical thinking skills. So my brain does get a little bit fried with dealing with problems all day. And I can really deal with the stress management very well at this point in my life. So it's definitely calloused me up a little bit. But yeah, I'm the majority of the time I work at home. It is basically a remote job, but I do leave to check on different clients' job sites. So yeah, that's a typical day in the life of being a project manager. But it gets stressful. Hey guys, Maven here says, "Hey John, have you thought about breaking your live streams into smaller videos? You could upload them to your main channel weekly. Just an idea." Well, I did start doing that. The last couple reviews I put out over on the main channel, I basically took clips of my previous live show and just edited the videos into a review. And it worked. I had a Twister video. I had a Deadpool and Wolverine video. And I kind of said everything I needed to during the live stream, just on the fly. And I just chopped those up. And I actually had a help of a buddy named Alex. He edited some of the videos for me, which saved on time and effort. And I uploaded those. And so breaking up the live streams into clips, yeah, I've been wanting to do that for a very long time. It just takes more time than you think sometimes to kind of like get all the edits in. And there are some segments where I wouldn't have to edit anything and just releasing the clips. I think that would be like a really good beneficial idea. It's just like after I shoot this, I'm like, well, I don't want to go listen to myself again. I'm like, that's why I did the live stream, so I didn't have to edit it. I'm just at a point where I hate listening to my own voice. And I assure you, all of you will be there very soon if you're not already. But if you are here, thank you. I appreciate it. It does mean a lot. But yeah, I do want to release these in clips because I think there's I go back every once in a while, not to sound like a narcissistic asshole, but there are some questions where I completely forgot that I answered. And I was like, oh, that was a pretty good, fun answer that I could release on a clip that more people would see. And I think releasing these on TikTok would be really beneficial too. Everyone, if you go to TikTok, people will just like watching videos of someone ramble into a microphone, but they're typically not talking to anyone when they're actually doing it. That's a weird phenomenon, isn't it? Night King of One says, "Hey John, are you excited for the next season Greg Zaller film, The Bookie and the Bruiser with Vince Vaughn and Adrian Brody? I'm intrigued. If anything like Brawl in Cell Block 99 and Bone Tomahawk, I'm in." I haven't heard anything about this. The Bookie and the Bruiser, I have not heard anything. I don't know anything about that movie. It sounds cool. I mean, it sounds like a cool movie. I did like Cell Block 99. All right, I'll just answer one or two more questions, and then I'm going to say, I'm going to tuck you guys in and say night-night. Let's see. I feel like the chat is not updating as much as it should. I feel like it's really neglecting what I need right now. Snow White and the Huntsman. That's what that movie was called. Yeah. What did you guys think about the movie Babylon? Someone in the chat wants to know. I don't know who could make it through that 3-hour abomination. All right. I'm going to answer, let me see, one more question here. Let me find one last juicy question. We've been talking for 2 hours. I meant to do this for an hour. Yeah, she did bang the director. I think that's the last statement we need for this live show. With all that said, to be fair, it's not a bad film. I wouldn't say it's a good one either. Oh, here we go. If Batman was real, would you join him as your crime-fighting partner? No, because I have a slight case of sciatica in my lower back, and sometimes mowing my lawn on my riding mower is almost too much of an adrenaline rush. So joining Batman and fighting for the injustice of Gotham City, I don't know if I can handle that in my older years. But yes, I'd like to hang out with him. Maybe. I don't know. As always, guys, thanks for watching. thanks for the questions. Thanks for hanging out. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.